In my previous life, I married my childhood friend Lu Ruyan after she was abandoned at her wedding. I stepped in, the one who picked up the pieces, and lived my entire life feeling stifled and resentful. Lu Ruyan's fiancé publicly called off the wedding on the day itself, eloping with his true love in front of everyone. To prevent my childhood friend from being publicly humiliated, I publicly fought with her fiancé and then, on impulse, said to Lu Ruyan, "Marry me." She tearfully agreed. The wedding continued, and we duly registered our marriage, becoming a real married couple. I thought our married life would be peaceful, but I never expected Lu Ruyan and her ex-boyfriend to maintain lingering ties, secretly meeting frequently. After Lu Ruyan's ex-boyfriend abandoned her, things didn't go well for him and his true love. Lu Ruyan repeatedly used my money to subsidize him and even sabotaged one of my major projects. She treated me like her loyal provider. When I asked for a divorce, she demanded I leave with nothing, threatening otherwise to expose my misdeeds over the years and ruin my reputation. During a struggle, we both fell from a building. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at Lu Ruyan's wedding scene. As a friend of the bride's family, I was sitting at a round table in the front row. I hadn't yet recovered from the sensation of falling when the lights in the entire venue suddenly dimmed. The wedding was already halfway through. All the spotlights focused on where the bride was supposed to enter. A beautiful woman in a gown walked gracefully onto the stage and took the microphone from the MC. "Jibwachong, can we start over? Put aside all the misunderstandings, be together properly, never separate again. I can't live without you. Come back." As she spoke, she reached out her hand to Jibwachong. But Jibwachong directly pushed Lu Ruyan's hand away and grasped the other woman's hand. The two embraced tightly, then they left the wedding venue together. The entire crowd was in an uproar. The lights came back up brightly. Lu Ruyan stood helplessly on the stage, her gaze turning to me, pleading for help. Following her gaze, the bride's family members at the same table also looked at me. Lu Ruyan and I grew up together, inseparable. We were undeniably childhood sweethearts. Both sets of parents thought we would definitely end up together. I thought so too, and so did our classmates. But when I confessed my feelings to her after we grew up, she told me, "We're too familiar with each other. It would be weird to be together. Let's just be friends." Since then, we barely kept in touch, living far apart and busy with our own lives. If it weren't for our parents being on good terms and the fact that I had moved on, I wouldn't have attended this wedding. Now Lu Ruyan was stranded on the stage, while I was solely focused on the large lobster in front of me. The MC didn't know what to do either. Lu Ruyan's second aunt nudged me. I turned to look at her. "What? Ruyan is so embarrassed up there on stage. You should go up and bring her down." I looked at the groom's relatives and friends who were starting to leave and snapped. "She has her own legs. If she doesn't come down herself, why should I go up? To be a clown, just like her?" Lu Ruyan's mother was displeased. "You child, how can you talk like that? Weren't you two the closest when you were kids?" I put down the shrimp I was holding and wiped my hands. "You said it yourself. That was when we were kids. We haven't been in contact for ages. Besides, regarding your daughter, even you, her parents, aren't willing to go up there and lose face. What makes you think I should?" Lu Ruyan's father looked at me. "Doesn't your childhood friendship mean anything?" I shrugged. "Listen to yourself. How have I not considered our childhood bond? Look at Lu Ruyan's wedding. How many of her classmates showed up? Not a single one. Even the bridesmaid was hired. As for the wedding gift money, I gave 200,000. I bet none of you relatives gave as much as I did, right?" The lights on the stage went out completely. Lu Ruyan also left, crying. I stood up, brushed off my suit. "If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving now." After saying that, I turned and left directly. I didn't plan on having any further contact with Lu Ruyan in the future. I didn't expect that after the wedding, she'd actually be waiting right outside my door. She looked awful, and the first words out of her mouth were an accusation. "Didn't you say you'd marry me when we grew up?" I asked doubtfully, "Did I? I don't remember that." Lu Ruyan grabbed both my arms. "How can you say you don't remember?" I took 2 steps back, shaking off Lu Ruyan's hands. "Don't be like this. Am I supposed to remember?" Lu Ruyan's face was cold, her tone icy. "Lu Jinsheng, you've changed." I took another 2 steps back. "It wasn't my fault your engagement was publicly called off. What do you mean by coming to find me? She looked at me, very unhappy. Don't bring that up again. After all this time, I've realized you're the one worth trusting. Do I look like I'm here to pick up the pieces? That's not what I meant. I looked at her and gave a cold laugh. Not what meaning? You just got dumped yesterday, and today you come find me, saying I'm the one worth trusting. Don't tell me he didn't want you, and now you're looking for a father for the baby in your belly? Lu Ruyan, furious and embarrassed, tried to hit me, but I grabbed her wrist, forcefully let go, and then closed the door. I thought she probably wouldn't bother me again this time. After all, we both care about saving face. Unexpectedly, the her I hadn't seen in years had already become shameless. I was in my office looking at financial reports when the office phone rang. I casually picked it up. What is it? My secretary's voice came through the receiver. Mr. Liu, the chief secretary from the Liu group called. They said Miss Liu is on a hunger strike and hopes you can go see her. I asked my secretary to come to my office. The secretary knocked and came in. Mr. Liu, you called. I took a box out of my drawer and placed it on the desk. Go to the Liu residence for me. Hand the contents of this box directly to Miss Liu in person. Don't say anything, just come straight back. The secretary took the box and left. I went back to looking at the reports. 3 hours later, my mobile phone rang. It was an overseas call from my father. I didn't need to guess what he was going to say. I answered the phone and got straight to the point. Dad, if this is about anything related to the Liu family, you don't need to say a word. Just hang up. Jin Cheng, you're not young anymore. It's time you thought about your personal life. Ruyan is a child her mother and I watched grow up. Her looks, temper, and disposition are all quite good. Your Uncle Liu and I go way back as family friends. I think. I rubbed the bridge of my nose and cut him off directly. It's true I should consider my personal life, but you can't expect your son to pick up the pieces, right? What picking up the pieces? Don't say such unpleasant things. I heard from your Uncle Liu, she and that Ji Wuchang weren't even legally married, just engaged. These things happen. Rian quite likes you too. Think about it. My temples throbbed. There's nothing to consider. Your son knows what he's doing. If you knew what you were doing, you wouldn't be this old without ever having had a girlfriend. Regardless, if you're unwilling, you should go to the Liu house yourself and make it clear. I hung up directly. I lost the mood for work and decided to go out for a drive to clear my head. Unexpectedly, just as I reached the underground parking garage, I ran into Uncle Liu and his secretary. I gave a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Uncle Liu, what brings you here blocking my way again? Uncle Liu looked troubled. Ruyan isn't eating or drinking anything right now, and she won't see anyone but you. Just do your uncle a favor and go talk some sense into her. I nodded, all right. Seeing the visible smile spread across his face, I added, however, my appearance fee is very expensive. Uncle Liu was taken aback for a moment, then immediately took a checkbook from his secretary's bag. How much do you want? Fill in whatever amount you like. I put my hands on my hips. I don't want too much. I heard Uncle Liu spent $80 million to acquire a new media company. Transfer the shares to me, and I'll go immediately. Father Liu hesitated for a moment, then nodded in agreement. All right, no problem. So, you can come with me now, right? I held up a hand. Not so fast. Then I pulled open the car door, took out the contract I had prepared earlier from the back seat, along with a pen. When I handed it to him, his face turned very ugly, and his hand trembled slightly. You prepared this beforehand? I licked my lips. You don't have to sign it. I'm not in a hurry. Father Liu glanced at his secretary, then looked back at me. Could we perhaps? I cut him off sharply. No room for negotiation. Father Liu still doted on his daughter. He picked up the pen, signed his name, and pressed his fingerprint. I took the contract and thoughtfully handed him a tissue to wipe his hand. After confirming everything was in order, well then, let's not delay. Let's go now. The Liu family villa. It had been a long time since I'd last come here. Liu Rian lay in bed, and 4 drip attached to her hand, staring listlessly at the ceiling. Her lips were pale, looking sickly and pitiful. Mother Liu spoke. Ruyan, look who's here. Liu Rian turned her head to look at me, standing at the door, my lips curved upwards. Her voice was weak. Jin Cheng, you're here. I nodded, staying at the doorway without entering. I heard from Uncle and Auntie that you're on a hunger strike. She denied it. No, I just have no appetite. I don't feel like eating anything. I sighed. That's a real pity. On my way here, I found a newly opened Western restaurant. I was planning to have you treat me. Since you have no appetite, let's just forget it. Lu Ruyan struggled to sit up. I can eat a little, just to keep you company. Please don't force yourself. Lu Ruyan waved her hand. It's no trouble. Actually, I wanted to treat you to a meal last time, but you were busy, so it got delayed. Hearing that her daughter was going out to eat, Mother Lu immediately arranged for the nanny to help Lu Ruyan change her clothes. I waited in the living room for over 2 hours before she finally came downstairs, changed into an evening gown, wearing exquisite makeup. She looked like a completely different person from the one in the sickbed earlier. At the Western restaurant, she insisted on sitting next to me no matter what. Well, having just acquired such an expensive company from them, I figured I had to give something in return, so I agreed. The tear-shaped rhinestone decals glittered subtly on her collarbone. Jin Cheng, take me away, okay? She grabbed the front of my suit jacket, the scent of jasmine perfume mixed with the saltiness of tears hitting my face. Consider it fulfilling our childhood promise. When we were 12, we buried a time capsule under a tree in her backyard, putting a note inside that said, "Together forever and ever." Ruyan, your foundation is smudged. I pulled out a handkerchief and handed it to her. The fine silk fabric brushed past her stiff fingertips. You're just like those people who laugh at my Lu family's misfortune, she suddenly screamed, her meticulously shaped, arched eyebrows twisting into a grotesque curve. Do I have to kneel and beg you? The lights in the restaurant suddenly dimmed, and a spotlight hit us like a searchlight. I caught a glimpse of Ji Buchang's cousin's figure on the second floor. The red light on his camera was blinking. In my past life, a video was also taken at the wedding venue. The headline was, "Infatuated Groom Cancels Wedding. Childhood Sweetheart Swoops In." Never mind how melodramatic the plot was. Because of our statuses, this video stayed on the trending list for 3 days, becoming gossip fodder for the entire nation. In my past life, after I agreed to marry her, I accidentally saw her send our wedding photo to Ji Buchang with the caption, "I'll be better off without you." Yin Xiang. She suddenly softened her tone, her fingertips climbing onto my wrist. Can we talk? I pull my hand back. Are you sure you want to continue this act here? I pointed towards the camera crew, adjusting their lenses. I heard you bought a press release scheduled to go out at midnight. How about this headline? Wealthy heiress jilted, mysterious protector appears. Sensational enough, right? The color drained from her lips. A loose strand escaped her meticulously styled French twist, falling beside her ear. Jin Cheng, listen to me. It's not what you think. I suddenly remembered that rainy night when I was 20. She had knocked on my door, drenched to the bone. That day, she was curled up on my sofa with a high fever, but after receiving a call at 3 in the morning, she ran straight out, barefoot. Although I didn't know who that person was, she definitely wouldn't have done that for me. Suddenly, all the crystal chandeliers in a Western restaurant lit up. The bright soup tureens and steak cloches reflected the flashing red lights of cameras on the second floor. President Lu, truly impressive methods. Ji Buchang's cousin, Ji Boda, came down the spiral staircase. Lu Ruyan suddenly grabbed a dinner knife and pressed it against her throat, the handle leaving a red mark on her neck. Will you only be satisfied once you've forced me to my death? Saying this, she turned towards the cameras. President of Jincheng Capital publicly humiliates the heiress of the Lu family. Is that headline explosive enough? A barrage of shutter clicks sounded from all around. I unbuttoned my suit jacket and sat down, trying to let them capture my more handsome side. I wasn't panicked. In a calm tone, I said to Ji Boda, 3 minutes ago, the G Corporation's official website just published an audit report on your father embezzling project funds. As I spoke, I waved my phone, which was still refreshing the page. Creditors are applying for asset preservation. Are you sure you still want to cooperate with Lu Ruyan and continue this act? Ji Boda shot me a glare, turned around, and left. Lu Ruyan looked at me, her face reproachful. Did it really have to be like this? I said nonchalantly, you went on a hunger strike, you booked out the entire place. Wouldn't it be a waste of all your painstaking effort if I didn't play along until the end of your show? Lu Ruyan walked up to me. I'm only doing this to give Ji Buchang closure. I want to completely sever all ties with him. I tapped my own head. You should get your head checked when you have time. He ran away from the wedding in public, left you alone at the ceremony. And you still think you need to give him closure? Did you dig up his ancestral graves or something? It's not what you think. There's a lot you don't understand about this. I took 2 steps back, putting a safe distance between us. There's nothing I need to understand. Your business has nothing to do with me. Goodbye. After speaking, I turned to leave, but she grabbed my arm. You can't go. I stopped. Miss Liu, what other instructions do you have? She gripped my arm with both hands, looking at me earnestly. Let's get married. Let's go register right now. I left her with one word, psycho, and stalked off. On the way back to the company, I thought about how to legally and reasonably retaliate against Lu Ruyan and how to use the patent I held to secure that big new energy contract. Suddenly, my car started to lose control, the engine began to smoke, and the cooling system malfunctioned. Fortunately, there was a river nearby. Without hesitation, I drove the car straight into it. Unfortunately, the current was quite strong. By the time I swam out of the car window, I had already been carried downstream. When I woke up again, I found myself lying on a riverbank. My wallet and phone were gone. Even the leather shoes on my feet were missing. Luckily, there was a pair of cloth shoes nearby. Otherwise, I would have had to walk barefoot. I put on the cloth shoes. Looking around, I was in the middle of nowhere. It seemed walking was the only way back. Dusk was falling. There wasn't a single car on the road. Occasionally, large transport trucks passed by, but I didn't dare try to flag them down. My clothes were soaking wet, and I was very cold. My strength was rapidly draining away, and my stomach started growling insistently. Not far away, there was a decently sized courtyard. I struggled towards it. Just as my hand touched the courtyard gate, I finally couldn't hold on any longer. Everything went black, and I collapsed against the gate, losing consciousness. When I woke up yet again, I found myself lying on an iron bed, its paint peeling but the bedding clean. The room was small, lit by an old-fashioned incandescent bulb. Aside from a writing desk propped up with bricks, there was no other furniture. A little girl stared at me with wide eyes, her face blank, as if looking at some rare animal. Little girl, where is this? Where are your parents? The girl stood up and walked out. I thought she was shy and had gone to fetch her parents, but instead, she returned with a steaming bowl of rice porridge. Before I could speak, she placed the porridge on a wooden stool beside the bed and ran out again. Then she came back with a bowl of shredded potatoes, topped with a slightly yellowed steamed bun. I was starving, so I forced myself up and began eating ravenously. The pink towel on my forehead fell to the floor. The girl seemed to treasure it dearly, quickly picking it up, washing it in a nearby basin, wringing it dry, and draping it over the back of a chair. After being used to delicacies, this simple home-cooked meal had a unique flavor. Just as I finished eating, the door opened again, and a man and a woman entered. The man, unshaven and looking to be in his 40s, carried a medical kit. The woman was beautiful and young, around 25, wearing a blue knitted cardigan, a white tank top, jeans, and sneakers. The three of them stood silently, gesturing with their hands as if forming seals. Then the man walked over and handed me a mercury thermometer. It dawned on me. All three of them were deaf and mute. After taking my temperature, the man gestured at length to the woman, then placed a medicine bottle on the writing desk before leaving. The woman glanced at me and took the little girl out with her. Having eaten, I was indeed drowsy. Just as I was about to sleep again, the beautiful woman came in with a glass of water, patted my shoulder, handed me the cup, and poured out 2 pills. After taking the medicine, I said, "Thank you," then remembered she couldn't speak and likely couldn't hear either. I thought of writing it down, but my phone was gone. My gaze fell on the writing desk. There was paper and a pen. She seemed to understand my intention and brought them over. I wrote, "Thank you," and showed it to her. She took the notebook and wrote 3 small words, "You're welcome." I realized my "thank you" had been written too large, so I wrote another sentence in the same size as her 3 words, "May I know your name?" She wrote, "Sure Shiweching." Her handwriting was beautiful, delicate, elegant, with slender strokes and a balanced layout, exuding a refined and graceful charm. Just like her, gentle and captivating, drawing one's gaze and making it hard to look away. I softly murmured her name. Then she snatched the notebook from me and wrote, "What's your name?" I wrote my name, Lu Jinsheng. She continued writing, "Why are you stranded here?" I wasn't sure how to explain, so I wrote, I've lost my memory. I don't remember anything. She read my words, looked up, and her face showed pity. I asked her where this place was, and she told me it was an orphanage. I nodded thoughtfully. She must be a teacher here. We filled an entire page with our written conversation. Finally, she wrote, rest early, and left with the 2 empty bowls. When I woke the next day, the sunlight was just right. I felt my energy restored. My coat, now dry, was neatly folded by the pillow, and steamed buns with pickles were placed on the desk. After dressing and eating breakfast, I stepped into the courtyard. A dozen or so children were intently watching Shu demonstrate sign language. The blackboard was made of a wooden plank painted black. Although there were no loud reading sounds here, every child was focused and studied very seriously. Shu wore a kind smile on her face, like a blooming flower, even more like a ray of sunshine warming the children. Seeing the environment here, I had the idea of doing charity. When I go back, I must invest a large sum of money here to improve the current situation. Just then, an old lady patted my shoulder and gestured something at me. I really couldn't understand sign language, so I held out my palm, gestured on it with my index finger, and said aloud, "Can you write it down?" The old lady grasped my fingertips and wrote on my palm, character by character, "Is her illness any better?" I took her hand as well and wrote, "Thank you for asking, much better." She continued writing, "If you have nowhere to go for the time being, you can stay and help, but there's no salary." I thought about it. I didn't really have anything to do recently, so I wrote, "Room and board are enough. I don't need a salary." Thus, I became a volunteer at this welfare home. Every day, besides repairing the damaged roof, I also had to help pick and wash vegetables. This welfare home only had the old lady and Shu as adults. The nearest village was 3 kilometers away, and the only means of transportation was an old roadster bicycle, about 10 years younger than the old lady herself. The first time I rode it, I fell. Shu quickly helped me up, took my hand, and wrote on it with her index finger. "Are you all right?" I grabbed her fair palm and wrote a single word on it. "Hurts." She used a cotton swab to apply red antiseptic to my wound. I hissed in pain, so she gently blew on my wound while applying the medicine. Watching her serious expression, I felt a stirring inside, wondering if it was hormones acting up. I stayed at the welfare home for a week and grew increasingly familiar with the children, playing games with them during their free time after class. That afternoon, roaring sounds and car engines were heard outside, followed by someone banging heavily on the welfare home's gate. I thought to myself, these useless subordinates, how come they only found me now? Turning to look at Shu, I unexpectedly saw her looking extremely alarmed, like a mother hen guarding her chicks, leading the children from the classroom into the spacious courtyard. I didn't know why she was acting like this, but hearing the banging on the gate, a surge of anger rose within me, and I shouted, "I heard you! What are you banging for?" Saying this, I opened the iron gate. The burly man in the lead looked at me. Yo, didn't expect that after a month away, these mutes finally found someone who can talk. I looked him up and down. I didn't recognize him. It seemed they weren't looking for me, so I asked, "Who are you?" Unexpectedly, the other party retorted, "And who are you?" Before I could speak, the man continued with an indifferent expression, "I don't care who you are. The 1-month deadline is up. Hurry up and move out." I frowned. Why should we move? The burly man slammed his palm on the iron gate. Why? Because this land belongs to the Lu Group. Do you know what project is being developed here? For every day of delay, how much money does the Lu Group lose? Can you afford to compensate? I thought about it. Fine, we'll move. Worst case, I'll just buy a bigger courtyard elsewhere. Then how much demolition compensation will you give us? The men looked as if they had heard the biggest joke ever. Are your ears stuffed? Didn't you hear me say this is Lu Group's land? It has absolutely nothing to do with you. Hearing this, my temper flared. What if I refuse to move? If you have the guts, go get Lu Ruyan. The leading burly man pushed me. Is Miss Lu's name something you can just utter? Besides, demolishing a small, broken-down courtyard like yours doesn't warrant Miss Lu's personal attention. Saying this, he waved his hand to those behind him. The roar of an engine sounded again, and an excavator equipped with a demolition hammer drove over. I rushed directly in front of the excavator and roared, Come on, drive over me if you dare. Just then, someone pulled me back. I thought it was someone from the Lu group, but when I turned my head, it was actually Shiweching. Shiweching shook her head. I patted her hand to reassure her, signaling that I was okay. Then I told her to go inside and watch the children, that I would handle things here. After saying that, I gently pushed her inside and closed the iron gate. The man in charge walked over. Kid, trying to act tough, huh? I looked at him. Can I borrow your phone for a moment? He scoffed. You don't even have a phone, and you dare stand up for others? Let me tell you, this is a legal demolition. Calling the police is useless. I said impatiently, cut the crap. Are you going to let me borrow it or not? Just then, someone beside him whispered, I don't think this kid is ordinary. Why don't we let him use the phone? We have nothing to lose, just waste a bit of time. The burly man thought it made sense. He waved to one of his lackeys and handed me the lackey's phone. I'd like to see who you can call over. I didn't call Lu Ruyan, but called the company's secretarial office instead. This is Lu Jincheng. Never mind where I am right now. Call Lu Ruyan for me. Tell her I said I want lot number 6 that was auctioned last year. Tell her to get this bunch of lowlifes under her as far away from me as possible. If I see them again, it won't be as simple as just a phone call. After speaking, I hung up directly and tossed the phone back. The lackey quickly caught it. The burly man looked incredulous. You're bluffing, right? You're Lu Jincheng. My face was cold. You can choose not to believe me, but I believe your phone will ring within 10 minutes. Not even 5 minutes later, the burly man's phone rang. Seeing the caller ID, the man, who had been so arrogant just moments before, immediately changed his expression and answered the call. Hello. Foreman Zhao, it's me. No, it's definitely a civilized demolition, rest assured. What? You want us to go back? The burly man glanced at me. No problem. We'll leave right away. After hanging up, the burly man looked at me obsequiously. Mr. Lu, this is a case of family fighting family. Everyone knows about your relationship with Miss Lu. We were just following orders. Please don't take offense. After speaking, he put his hands together and apologized profusely. Go back and tell Lu Ruyan to stop bullying people with her power. I have a score to settle with her. The burly man nodded quickly in agreement, then left with his men and machines, disappearing down the end of the road. I reopened the iron gate and went back into the courtyard. Shiweching was looking at me with fear on her face, while the children looked bewildered. I smiled, walked over, took her hand, and wrote on her fair palm. Don't worry, they won't come back. She turned my hand over and wrote on my palm. How did you do that? I wrote 2 words on her hand. Secret. The moon was very round tonight. After I finished cleaning up and checking on the children, just as I was about to return to my room, Shiweching suddenly came over, took my hand, and led me into the courtyard. I thought something had happened, but unexpectedly, she pointed to a corner of the yard. It turned out the flowers the children had planted in the corner had bloomed. She crouched in front of the flower patch. I stood behind her, looking at her back. Shiweching, do you know? Even though you can't hear, some feelings of love cannot be hidden. Just like these seeds buried deep in the earth will eventually break through the soil and bloom into beautiful flowers. Every time you look up at the clouds, your neck curves like a swan's. When you teach, your right foot taps the floor unconsciously. When you're sad, even though you smile, the corners of your eyes droop before your lips do. If love is a high-stakes gamble, I have already wagered my entire soul. I don't ask that you pick up this burning heart. Only wish that for the rest of my life, I can continue to be an observer in your world. Even though you can't hear, I want to introduce you to everyone I know, because I like you, you know? This is the first time I've confessed to a girl. You're a very good, very kind girl. If you're willing, I want to spend the rest of my life taking care of you, forever. After saying this, I couldn't help blushing. It was lucky she couldn't hear. Even I thought it sounded incredibly cheesy. Just as I was figuring out how to formally confess, she suddenly stood up and hurried away, leaving only her back turned to me. While I stood there, unsure what to do, there was heavy knocking on the iron gate outside. Who could be this late? Opening the door, I saw 2 groups of people. My secretary with a group of subordinates, and next to them, Lu Ruyan and her people. Lu Ruyan rushed toward me. Jincheng, do you know? I've been looking for you for days. I was so worried. How could you be here? My face cold, I stepped back twice, holding up my hands to stop her enthusiastic approach. That's quite unnecessary. You were looking for me because you were afraid I hadn't died, weren't you? Lu Ruyan stared at me in disbelief. How can you think that of me? What happened to you had nothing to do with me. I was genuinely worried about you. My bodyguards stepped in front of me, blocking Lu Ruyan. I don't want to say any more unnecessary words. Just look after yourself. With that said, I follow my secretary and return home. My parents were back from abroad too. The moment my mother saw me, she started crying. I comforted her for a while before following my father into the study. On his first day back, besides sending people to find me, he had also secretly investigated the Liu and Ji families. "What are your plans?" he asked. I replied sardonically, "The weather's turning cold. It's time for the Liu and Ji corporations to go bankrupt." I stood on the second-floor terrace of the banquet hall, watching 12 news vans from different media outlets surround the hotel like an impenetrable ring. Lu Ruyan was on the lawn, crying her grievances to the cameras. My secretary handed me a tablet. 6 of the top 10 trending topics carried Lu Ruyan's name. "She's accusing you of using capital power to persecute legitimate business owners." The topic has already garnered over 1.2 billion views. I clicked on the pinned video. She was showing a burn mark on her arm. This is what Lu Jinsheng did when he forced me to sign the share transfer agreement. The close-up actually showed a scar she'd made herself with a cigarette, but in my past life, she used similar tactics to trick me out of 2 Riverview apartments under my name, immediately transferring them to Ji Buchang. Have the financial news channel ready for a breaking news insert. I glanced at my watch. Release the evidence of Lu Real Estate's fraudulent prospectus in 3 minutes. Suddenly, there was a commotion downstairs. Lu Ruyan's legal team entered, carrying a safe. In front of 50 media outlets, she took out a yellowed notebook. This contains records of how Jinsheng Capital manipulated the bidding process. I chuckled softly into my Bluetooth headset. Proceed with the plan as scheduled. The instant she opened it, the large LED screen suddenly switched to display Lu Real Estate's project inspection reports. Beneath the large red failed watermark were photos of her father and Ji Buchang gambling heavily in a casino. Impossible. This data was supposed to be. She clapped a hand over her mouth abruptly, her nails digging into the pages, tearing them. That crocodile skin notebook was a birthday gift from Ji Buchang last year. A hidden compartment within was supposed to contain evidence that could ruin me if I hadn't locked the real evidence in a bank vault beforehand. The media representatives suddenly grew restless. 18 uniformed auditors appeared at the back of the crowd. "We are the Special Investigation Team from the Securities Regulatory Commission. Miss Lu, please cooperate with our inquiry into the flow of funds for the charitable foundation registered under your name." Lu Ruyan stumbled, grabbing onto a news van for support. Her carefully arranged chignon came undone, hair tumbling down. This foundation, named after her mother, was actually a front for the Ji family's money laundering operations. In my past life, I personally burned the transfer records to protect her reputation, only to receive the Ji family share transfer agreement, which she was holding in proxy while I lay on my sickbed. "You can't." She suddenly turned to the camera and screamed. "This is all fabricated by Lu Jinsheng. His own father." The roar of propellers came from above as 3 drones carrying a projection screen hovered over the hotel. Footage from the Lu Real Estate shareholders meeting began to play. On screen, her father was stamping the company seal onto a yin-yang contract, and the young woman standing in the shadows was none other than Lu Ruyan herself. A louder commotion suddenly erupted from the edge of the crowd as 20 law enforcement vehicles, blue lights flashing, surrounded the scene. I watched Lu Ruyan being led into a black van. The look she gave me as she turned back was laced with venomous hatred, exactly the same expression she had in my previous life when she pushed me down the stairs. At 3 a.m, the top floor of Jinsheng Capital was brightly lit. 20 curved screens displayed real-time global capital market data. I stood before the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the emergency lights flicker on one after another in the G Group building opposite. Lu Real Estate's stock price has fallen below its issue price. The short-selling return rate has reached 360%. The trader's voice trembled with excitement. Mr. Liu, the G Group's new energy sector is experiencing a chain sell-off. On the Nasdaq side, I raised my hand to interrupt the report and opened the whistleblower letter in my encrypted email. This was the evidence Ji Buichang's White Moonlight sent me before she died in my previous life, detailing the Ji family's money laundering chain through IVF surrogacy. 10 minutes after I hit send, this file would appear simultaneously in the inboxes of 7 regulatory agencies. Mr. Liu, Ji Boda requests a video call. The secretary held up a tablet, hesitating. He says he has something that might interest you. The moment the screen lit up, I saw Lu Ruyin tied to a chair. Blood trickled from the corner of her mouth, but her newly done 3D sculpted floral nails were still intact. Ji Buichang's favorite style. Lu Jinsheng, trade this woman for stopping your short selling. Ji Boda pressed the muzzle of his gun against her temple. Otherwise, tomorrow's top trending headline will be Mystery Surrounding Suicide of Abandoned Heiress. I took a sip of coffee and gestured to show the document. 3 hours ago, Miss Liu already pledged all the G Corporation shares under her name to the Sib Palchable. And a friendly reminder, there's a surprise for you on the 3rd shelf of the bookcase behind you. Ji Boda's expression changed drastically. The moment he turned, Lu Ruyin suddenly kicked him in the groin with her high heel. In the chaos, the camera shook violently before finally settling on the crystal chandelier on the ceiling. Late at night, 3 days later, I received a live stream link through an encrypted channel. The feed showed Lu Ruyin in some underground marketplace. She had cut her hair short and wore oversized dark sunglasses that covered half her face. I have evidence here that can threaten Lu Jinsheng. She raised a USB drive with trembling hands. Inside, this is proof of him bribing officials, manipulating the stock market private. Before she could finish, the black market's roller shutter door was blown open, and SWAT officers stormed in, their uniforms bearing the insignia of an international law enforcement agency. I closed the video feed and opened the drawer, taking out an old-fashioned voice recorder. This was something I had prepared on the day I was reborn, containing the entire conversation where Lu Ruyin and Ji Buichang plotted to run away from the wedding. Back then, she had laughed and said, "Once that fool Lu Jinsheng takes over this mess, we can use him as a springboard to acquire the entire Lu family enterprise." Rain began to fall outside. I stood before the same window I had jumped from in my previous life and dialed the number of the media company CEO, the one Lu's father had transferred to me. You can publish that in-depth report now. The title is Exposing the 20-Year Network of Power and Money Deals Between the Lu and Ji Families. At 7 in the morning, photos of Lu Ruyin in handcuffs being escorted out of the detention center swept across the internet. I built a new orphanage. Not only was it bright and well-built with excellent facilities, but its location was also prime. I personally took a bus to the old orphanage to bring the children to their new home, but after searching everywhere, I couldn't find any trace of Shi Xueqing. I asked the old woman, the director and head cook, where Shi Xueqing was. She wrote on my hand, "She was a volunteer just like you. She left 3 days after you did." I took an invitation to the MED Company Cochlear Implant Technology seminar out of my bag and handed it to the old lady. "Please give this to her for me," I said, writing something down. "There's someone at this conference who can really help her. Why don't you give it to her yourself?" Hearing an unfamiliar voice, I slowly turned around, only to see Shi Xueqing looking at me with a smile. I couldn't believe my ears. "Was that you who just spoke?" She retorted. "Who else?" I walked over to her. "You're not deaf and mute." She shrugged. "I never said I was." I was baffled. She extended her hand towards me. "Let me reintroduce myself. Shi Xueqing, 3rd-level police supervisor from the Economic Crime Investigation Corps. One of the leaders responsible for the special operation concerning the Lu Group and the Ji Group." I gently shook her hand. Suddenly remembering that night, my face flushed red. That night. She looked down. I heard every single word, loud and clear. After saying that, she looked up at me. Our eyes met, and I felt embarrassed. "So, what do you mean?" Shi Xueqing asked knowingly. What do you mean?" I could feel the tips of my ears burning. "Then, would you be my girlfriend?" "Well, if you repeat what you said that night, I might consider it." Just then, The children from the orphanage gathered around us. I found it hard to speak and was about to leave, but she grabbed my arm. "Where are you going, Uma?" She stamped her foot in exasperation. "Aya, why are you being so hesitant? A grown man like you. Just say it. They can't hear you." I looked at the children's curious eyes and said to Shueqing, "Close your eyes, and I'll say it." She shook her head helplessly and closed her eyes. "Honestly, I don't know what to do with you. Just like a child. And to think you're a billionaire." I leaned straight in and gave her a quick kiss. Amidst the applause of the children, she put me in a playful arm lock. "That's assaulting an officer. Your penalty is to be good to me for a lifetime." Saying this, she released her grip and smoothly wrapped her arms around my waist. Happy ending.